Hello and welcome back to another episode. In this week's video, I will be comparing journey times and prices to find the best way for you to travel to France in your campervan or motorhome. In this week's video, we'll be looking at the Eurotunnel and different ferry options, and I'll also be covering what it's like to travel with a pet. By the end of this video, hopefully, you'll be able to find the best way to travel to France that works for you and your budget. My name is Alex and you're watching The Leap into Van Life. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. Okay, let's start with option one. Can I get a drum roll, please? Option one is the Eurotunnel. The Eurotunnel runs from Folkestone in the southeast of England to Calais in the northwest of France. It runs every half an hour and takes just 35 minutes. So it is by far the quickest way to cross the channel. So if you're in a rush, get the Eurotunnel. It also has some other pros. So if you're traveling with a pet and you're a bit worried about leaving the pet, you stay with the vehicle the whole entire time. So when you're on the Eurotunnel, you can go to the toilet, but it's not like a ferry where there's shops and bars and restaurants. It is just your vehicle on the tunnel. Another positive as well is if it's stormy outside, the tunnel is never affected. So in the storms, you just go straight under the tunnel and you avoid those rough seas. And I don't know about you, but I've had a few rough crossings where I'm like, why did we not just get the tunnel? There are a few negatives of the tunnel though. So the tunnel is considerably more expensive than the ferry options. Another thing to consider is if your vehicle is over 3.5 tons, it will have to go on the freight train, which then you'll drive your vehicle on. That you don't stay with your vehicle. Someone will then escort you to like a lounge area and then they'll escort you back to your vehicle. And that costs even more than just a standard ticket. So if your vehicle is over 3.5 tons, it's probably not worth doing the Eurotunnel, but other than that, the Eurotunnel is a great option. So we're departing on the 1st of January at 12:20, and we're then departing again from Calais to Folkestone on the 22nd of January. £413. Like, that is a hell of a lot of money for a 35-minute journey. Prices do vary depending on the time of year that you go, so it's best to book your trip well in advance to ensure you get the best price. Another good thing with the Eurotunnel is they still have duty free, so before you get onto the Eurotunnel you can do some shopping to pass the time. Okay, so moving on to option two. Can I get a drum roll, please? Just so you know, I'm filming this on a different day because I ran out of time. That's why I've changed clothes. And that's why I no longer have a nice lovely view. I've just got a view of the brick wall of the house. But anyway, option two is Dover to Calais on the ferry. So this ferry option is the quickest ferry to France. So there are other ferry options, but this is the quickest ferry. So if you want to get the quickest ferry, this is the quickest one. And it's also the cheapest. So if you cross over with a company called DFDS, they offer the cheapest ferry crossings out of any other company. So I use DFDS every time I cross, and I've crossed from Dover to Calais quite a few times now. It's not that far from Folkestone, so it's not that far from the Eurotunnel. The only thing to consider with the Dover to Calais crossing is the queues can be very long. So if you're going in high season, I would say probably avoid it. I mean, the queues can be bad anywhere, but Dover to Calais, the ferry, every time I've been, even out of season, the queues have been bad. So yeah, that's definitely something to consider. Also, the time to cross is only 1 hour and 51 minutes. So it's not actually that long. And what's quite nice with being on a ferry rather than on the Eurotunnel is you can get out, you can walk around, there's shops, there's bars. So yeah, there's a lot more to do rather than on the 35-minute crossing, you're kind of either sat or stood with your car because you can get out of the vehicle. But yeah, I personally prefer the ferry. With the Dover to Calais crossing, your pet would stay in the car, obviously, but you cannot stay with your vehicle, so you have to go up onto the higher decks and your vehicle stays down below. So the ferry from Dover to Calais runs every half an hour, and it runs 24 hours a day, 364 days a year. So the only day it doesn't run is Christmas Day. So as I said before, the Dover to Calais crossing is the cheapest way to cross the channel, and I will show you now. So I'm now going to show you how much it costs to go from Dover to Calais on the ferry. DFDS's website is much better than the Eurotunnel's website, so it's all already here for you. So Dover to Calais, we're going in a small motorhome. and they've got all the size options here. So we'd be classed as a small motorhome because our van is only 6 meters long. We have 2 people and 1 pet, and if we leave on Thursday the 1st of January and return on the 22nd of January, so it's the same as the Eurotunnel. When booking, you have to be careful. So as you can see, it's saying Dover to Calais here, but then underneath it's saying Dover to Dunkirk. So Calais and Dunkirk aren't that far away from each other, but it's still something to consider. So let's say we want to leave in the afternoon, because who doesn't love an afternoon ferry? And then our return ferry will also be Dover to Calais, Calais to Dover in the afternoon. And we'll be travelling with 1 pet. So the total cost here is £332. That is nearly £100 cheaper than the Eurotunnel. So it all just depends on how much of a rush you're in, whether you just want to have some time to relax for a couple of hours before you then do another drive. And depending on where you're going in France, so if you're crossing and you're going straight down south, then I will now tell you the third option. Okay, so let's talk about option 3. Can we get a drum roll, please? Also, I've just been for my haircut, that's why I look different. Anyway, option 3 is the Newhaven to Dieppe ferry, or Dieppe, however you say it, I'm not quite sure. But anyway, this is by far my favourite ferry. So this ferry takes 4 hours from Newhaven in the south of England to Dieppe in the north of France. And it's my favourite ferry because coming from Devon, it's so much easier to get to than it is to get to Dover. There's 2 ferries a day, so you have a ferry in the morning and a ferry in the evening. So if you miss your morning ferry, yeah, you're going to be waiting all day. So don't miss your morning ferry. And it's 4-hour crossing. Dogs can go as well. So I feel like 4 hours is kind of long enough to leave the dog. So you don't have to book a kennel. I don't think there are even kennel options. So the dog will stay in the van the whole time. Any longer, and I probably wouldn't leave the dog. So yeah, that is by far my favourite ferry. And the Newhaven terminal is just so simple and easy. You just drive straight in. There's 1 terminal. There's like 3 lanes or 4 lanes, and yeah, it's always on time. So I would definitely recommend the Newhaven to Dieppe ferry, and that is run by DFDS. So there's just 1 ferry company that runs from there, and I can't even begin to explain how easy the crossing is. And unlike Dover or Calais, you never get stopped by border control, because a lot of the time you'll be driving through and they'll just stop you at random, but they don't. I've never once been stopped there, and every time I go to Calais, I get stopped. So I mean, maybe it's just me. So that is by far the best option. And right now, I will show you some prices for Newhaven to Dieppe, because you'll be surprised it's actually not that much more than some of the other crossings. Okay, so let's look at the Newhaven to Dieppe ferry. So Newhaven to Dieppe, and we're going in a small motorhome, 2 passengers, 1 pet, and we're going to leave on the 2nd of January and return on the 22nd of January. Let's see how much this is going to cost. So if we want to leave at 11 o'clock in the morning, which is a very good time, and then returning, there's only 2 options. So obviously there's only 2 ferries a day. So you either return at 6 in the morning or 6 in the evening. I personally would rather get the 6 in the morning and stay closer to the Dieppe ferry port. So as you can see, the total for this is £334. There are cabins available, but I mean, for a 4-hour journey, I don't think you'd need a cabin. But you could also get a pet-friendly cabin if you didn't want to leave your dog in the vehicle for that amount of time. So that is a similar price to what you'd pay for the Dover to Calais ferry. And if you're coming from the southwest or the south of England, Newhaven is probably easier to get to than trying to get to Dover. So yeah, that is why I always book the Newhaven to Dieppe ferry with DFDS. So now we've spoken about the 3 main ways that I personally would cross the channel. I'm now going to tell you about the other options to cross the channel. So from Portsmouth, you can get a Brittany ferry or a P&O ferry, and that will be Portsmouth to Caen, which takes 6 hours, Portsmouth to St Malo, which takes 6 hours and 14 minutes, Portsmouth to Cherbourg, which takes 5 hours and 45 minutes, and Portsmouth to Le Havre, which takes 6 hours and 30 minutes. So depending on where you want to be in France, there's quite a few options from Portsmouth. When I checked those ferries on the same dates that I checked the other ferry crossings, they came back at about £600. So you're looking like double almost to go on a Brittany ferry. So yeah, I personally probably wouldn't do it. I mean, a lot of their ferries I know are overnight, so you could get on at like 11 p.m. and then you're on the ferry for say 6.5 hours. So you can like sleep in a cabin, but no, not for me. And then moving along, you can go from Poole. So from Poole, you can go from Poole to Cherbourg, which is 4 hours and 45 minutes. Or you can go to from Poole to St Malo, which is 6 hours. I personally haven't ever done those crossings, but I know people that have done them. And with a campervan, they are also quite expensive. So you're also looking at like £500 or £600. And then the final ferry, so this is the final ferry to France, is from Plymouth to Roscoff. And the Plymouth to Roscoff ferry takes a total of 9 hours. And that's an average time because I think it changes depending on like the weather and the conditions. So that's a 9-hour ferry. Obviously, if you're getting that ferry, I would definitely recommend booking a cabin. And you can book dog-friendly cabins, but they're very, very hard to get. So yeah, once they release those dog-friendly cabins, they're gone within a couple of hours. But your dog will comfortably go, and if your dog will go in a kennel, then obviously you can put your dog in a kennel. And then the Spain ferry, so you can also get ferries to Spain from Portsmouth to Santander or Portsmouth to Bilbao. And there's one more ferry, Plymouth to Santander. But those 3 ferries all take between 20 and 24 hours. So if you're feeling brave and you want to sit on a 24-hour ferry, then yeah, get one of the Spain ferries. But every time I've tried to get the Spain ferry, it's been impossible because our dog is over 10 kilos. And the same with the Plymouth ferry. The dog friendly rooms sell out so quickly that yeah, it's almost impossible. I mean, it'd be fine if we didn't have a dog because we could get straight on, or if we had a Chihuahua. But yeah, our Border Collie is too big for the 10-kilogram kennel, so then he needs the 20-kilogram kennels, which then aren't available. So every time I've tried to book that ferry, it's been unavailable. And I only try and book that ferry to save us driving all the way through France to basically avoid the fuel cost, the campsite cost, because it probably costs about the same. So those 24-hour ferries are about £1,000 return. So they're about £500 each way with a campervan, which sounds a lot, but obviously when you consider, yeah, you don't have to do the drive all the way through France. I personally think it's worth it, but you also have to consider if you're crossing in the winter, which we usually do, then the crossings can be very rough. So if it was a storm, I'd probably rather drive, but if it was a nice calm crossing, then I think I'd rather land in Santander and already be in Spain and then just have to cross over to the coast. So it's entirely up to you. But yeah, the options are endless when it comes to ferries. But I personally would recommend DFDS because they are the cheapest company to cross the channel with. And the Newhaven to Dieppe ferry is by far my favourite.
Something else to consider is if you're thinking about the Plymouth to Santander ferry, the last ferry is on the 2nd of November, and then the ferries don't start again until April. So if you are thinking about the Plymouth to Santander ferry, it does not run over the winter.
If anyone has any questions about ferry crossings, what you need to travel in France, anything like that, let me know in the comments below and I'll try and answer them as best as I can. And I will be doing another video shortly on the list of things that you will need before taking your campervan or motorhome to Europe. And I just want to say a massive thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe because it really does help the channel.